Hi, everybody. I'm Kevork Mourad from New York City. And this is going to be an amazing project. I already started thinking about this maybe 3 months ago. So the way I start working, I create the ideas and the objects in my head before I jump into project. You might see this little sketch that I prepared for you guys. You'll see it very shortly. So I create things like that for me to rehearse, to see how it looks. It's kind of almost like if you're a tailor, you create this, very basic suit or a dress to see how it fits the body. So the sketch is like that. I create many, many sketches, and at the end, I connect them together. And this music, it's very special to me because it's somehow it feels like it welcomes me to my second home, America, because I'm Armenian. I've heard so many amazing music from around the world, but this is for the first time I'm going to collaborate and work with traditional music from this country, and I feel like that is a perfect way to immerse in this culture, and I give what I have fully. So I'm super excited to share my work, and keep in tune. It's going to be super exciting. I'm putting all my force in it very, very soon.
Yeah, so right now you just are in the midst of working on another very big project with the South Korean Opera House. And can we actually put on the screen um, some of the images that Kevork has worked on? So if we can put that little yeah. Oh, so this is an installation you recently completed in New York, the Tower of
Yeah.
Babel.
Mm-hmm. So
And
this work.
yeah, tell us
Sorry,
about
go ahead. Yeah, this work is completed actually last year in London. This was a support by Aga Khan Museum in Toronto. And I just installed it now, just 2 days ago, in Asia Society, New York. It's 5 meters tall and 3 meters in diameter. This piece, it perfectly symbolizes this idea of diversity for me. I wanted to celebrate the work of art where it doesn't matter where you come from. As soon as you stand in front of an artwork, you realize you are part of it. What I mean with that, every window and doors, it's carved. So when you look at it, it's written with different languages, because Tower of Babel, when people think about Tower of Babel, they think about the birth of languages, because our ancestors, all of our ancestors used to work in this building to reach God. And in this biblical story, God said, enough is enough. You can't come reach me. Competition is too great. So God cursed them and changed their language so they could not communicate to build this tower. So that story is beautiful. And I want to take this story and make something interesting out of it. And I created that, and I'm super proud of this piece. It will be here until February. So if you guys are in New York City, just call me. I'll go with you. We can visit. We're gonna get time tickets, of course. It's free and open for public from February, from 27th of this month until February.
And another story or another big project you've been working on is Fidelio. And can we put the stage on screen, the video of the stage, just to get a sense of this magnitude? Can you put the video of the stage? Yeah, we're figuring things out here. But you just sent it to me this morning in the very early AM, and I thought we have to share it. So we have it here. Tell us about that project, Fidelio.
So Fidelio, it's the only opera done by the great composer Beethoven. And what's amazing about this piece, it's somehow I felt right away part of it because it's black and white. What I mean black and white, the dungeon is black, white is outside, the light. So I wanted to explore this idea, especially when you look at it politically, this the idea of fair and not fair, and things eventually it goes into the hope and the idea of any artist is a bright side of things. So it doesn't matter what you do, people will get their fair share in it. So in this Fidelio, I'm not going to go through the story of it, but I invented this concept of a city, which is inspired by Sevilla. And right underneath the city, I built a dungeon. So, which is very unusual. I don't think this beautiful Sevilla has a dungeon underneath, but this is the poster. You see on the left side is Sevilla, and just beneath on the left side, you see this dark side with column. That is a dungeon. I wanted to create 2 layers in dungeon. In the first half is mostly everything takes above the ground, which is all light, and it happens only with white paper. I draw an animation and all that. But believe it or not, the screen is curved. It's huge. Hopefully they will show you the screen. And the singers actually going to walk in the animation. So some of the stuff is, let's say the carpet is on the floor, but it's video. And then goes this curve, and after that, the background. And what I did, while I was working on this project, I was thinking at the light of hope returning, because I want to also include some of this, almost like I was practicing in Fidelio to bring that work to our project. So in a way that I want somehow incorporate a singer's voice, and to see how the voice could kind of trigger images to come left or right, and hopefully eventually we'll do this live together.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem like we're able to play the video right now. But just watching, it's pretty special to see the curved stage, and the singers can walk on some of the projections. But I know you're so immersed in it. Oh, you're going to show us? You're perfect.
From
so
my
here's
phone.
The curved stage.
This is on the phone. You can just see. I'm going to play it
so
again.
Huge. Yeah.
It's just short, but I can play you from. Yeah, so I don't know if it shows to anyone, but
it does, and we can see the dungeon and the feeling of you're so being so creative. And I'm wondering, so right now you're immersed in that, and that's going to show in South Korea very soon. We all have to go there to watch it. But how do you finish one project and then immerse yourself immediately in another project? How do you just do that switch?
So I feel like as an artist, you need to think about your artistic journey like a book. We look at things like chapters. So that was one chapter in a story, and Light of Hope Returning will be another chapter. What I mean in that, they are connected. I am using a similar kind of philosophy in it, the way I carry my lines. Some of the stuff are bold, some of the stuff has like a second or third meaning. I want to leave some part for viewers' imagination, because usually the good artwork is get completed by the viewers. You cannot do everything alone. You need to kind of collaborate. And in Fidelio is the same, and Light of Hope Returning is the same. So, at the same time, if I create something interesting in, let's say, Fidelio, and I think that approach, it works for my next project, I think about it and I save it. And almost like while I'm working on project now, I rehearse for the upcoming project.
Yeah, and you're using the term rehearse, and so many terms that come from music. And I'm wondering, it seems like you're doing so many projects with music. So how did that come to be, that you're working so much with musicians and that you yourself are so musical?
I'm myself a grandson of an amazing troubadour. My grandfather was a string player from northeast part of Syria. As an Armenian refugee, he arrived to a part of Syria where mostly populated by Kurdish people. He immediately learned Kurdish music and started playing music for the local population. When I used to hear him playing, I always felt that it could be my language to express it. But unfortunately, my parents were not that supportive of me going to direction of music, and art was always part of my practice growing up. And as you know, drawing, it doesn't take much effort, but learning music, you need to dedicate so many hours. I think 10,000 hours is minimum to be able
Mhm.
to jump in that world. So, but my first time when I was in Armenia, finishing my art school there, a friend of mine came and started practicing trombone in my studio. I realized my line started to change. And I asked him, I said, shall we try this experiment where you could get inspired by my lines and I could get inspired by your sound? He said, sure. So we did this first experiment at the Biennale in Armenia, and that was the beginning. And it was contagious. I love it so much that I wanted to share my work with musicians, and I have never stopped.
Yeah, and it seems like it's your calling, right? To do art, and it's clear that you have a motivation to that. And before we take some question, maybe from our Zoom VIP patrons, or maybe just one or two, because we don't have a lot of time. But I'm wondering what connects you to this specific piece, "The Light of Hope Returning." When we first started working with Sean Kirshner, the composer of "The Light of Hope Returning" last year, we heard a lot from him about his motivation to writing music, and specifically this piece, his personal motivation to writing this piece. And I'm wondering, what hooks you in this music, and where do you find that connection for you?
There's something very important in role of art. I feel like we need to document our time. And with what I do, especially with this amazing opportunity, we are documenting our times for future generations. It's a huge responsibility. And this kind of music is the music of the land, music of people. If I could be part of their voice, it's a huge honor for me. And just that, with this many amazing voices come together to create this harmony, it is very, very inspiring. And I'm super honored to be part of it. That is enough for me to just hands down to do it.
Thank you, and we are all honored by your art and your presence here today. Is there anybody on Zoom that raised their hand and want to ask our guest Kevork Mourad a question? Maybe raise your hand in front of the camera so we can unmute you. I know I'm putting you on the spot like that. Sarah, is anybody raising their hand, or should I ask? Oh, Catherine.
I just will say that we had a lot of chatter when Kevork, when you compared music to art, and this is definitely a group who sees that drawing takes just as much dedication and practice, and so we really are so excited to be working with you, and really fascinated about your process for getting here.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. I can't see everybody, so I don't know. Sarah, just let me know if anybody raised their hand. I have maybe one more question about your style. It's clear that you have your very own style. A lot of black and white. There is some color, and also, as we will see in the video, your animation is sometimes taken live, so we can actually see your hand drawing. In this video, it's sort of blurry, but to anybody who knows your
I developed my own software with help of a programmer. Is a good friend of mine, Lubo Borisov. He's a professor at Pratt here. I wanted to have something that supports immediately when you create something live. So there's a special dial. If I want to focus only on lines, people to see only the lines, so I could change this dial where you see the hand like a ghost. It means you're only concentrating to see what's visual is going to come out of it, not the hand. Because sometimes I feel like if the hand is 100% real time, you get distracted. So, and I wanted to use only hand because hand is the creator. I'm not there, only the hand. So that was the philosophy of the work. But what the style, I I still don't think I have a style. I just work. I just create. As like, if you
I
put
disagree.
many, thank you. If you put many hours, definitely you're going to choose what you like to choose. And the very distinct thing I like to emphasize in this, the practice of a calligrapher. So this calligraphy is very similar to sound. When you put a gesture, first of all, you're putting a gesture of a sound. You're writing something that what you write is just going to reflect sound. So it's very similar. When you start thinking that way, you realize actually in one gesture, you're putting two things together. So even though I'm, in Armenian, you won't think much calligraphy, but you think more in Arabic calligraphy. But I speak both languages, so I feel like it helps to put these two worlds together, because Arabic is from right to left and Armenian is a left to right, and I combine them together. And I use that in Tower of Babel. Actually, I put many languages, and when I was writing. And one more thing to add on this practice: sometimes when I create still artworks, I use monotypes. When I mean monotype, you draw on a surface while the surface is wet. You turn it and you press it down. So that's how I created this Tower of Babel. When you draw on this surface, in your mind, you need to change the language. If you're thinking in Armenian, you have to think in Arabic, because it's like goes in another direction. So all these
Right.
things is mind bending. And I love to bring all this philosophy into the work that we're going to do together. I feel like it's important to bring the world into our work, to open it instead of just close it.
So you're clearly influenced by the technique and the ink and script, the actual script, and then of course just your humanity and your will to see a diverse world. We saw that in the Tower of Babel, and just from the words you're using now. So let's do that great reveal. We want to see what you have prepared for us. Just a very short clip from Lo How a Rose. And do you have anything you wanted to say about this before we watch this clip, Kevork?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, it's just the flavor of what the direction I'm going in. I was imagining just briefly, I think I told this to Morna, and our first and second meeting, I said, first thing, I want to enter in the piece with just this little landscape, and I still don't know how this landscape is going to be, but I wanted to start in this animation to show that it's just a little bit of flavor how this work could be. It's just the start of the animation. But this is not the actual work. This is just a test of it.
All right, well, let's see that little clip. Let's see it.